payment issues. Oh,
Yes, very uncomfortable, but
yeah.
you know, we managed to get through. And she also postponed the week of her wedding.
I see these pictures full of flowers and the venue. It's wow, it's amazing. And I'm like, this is like an $80,000 wedding or more.
But repurposing is very, very huge in my opinion. I try to repurpose everything that I can, from the ceremony to the reception.
Right. If someone is getting married around Mother's Day, flowers are going to be more expensive, or around Valentine's.
Miscommunication and payment issues again. Come the day of her wedding, we're setting up in Lubbock. She's asking for changes there on the spot.
Like what?
She's wanting a hairpiece.
Okay.
While I'm creating her ceremony arch and that too. So from the beginning to the end with this certain client, I was just really glad to be done and over with.
Oh my God. Hi everyone, this is the Wedding Expos. Marilú Aleman here, and I'm with Victoria. Victoria, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yes, thank you for being here. So Victoria, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Victoria Keel. I am the owner and head florist to Desert Dreams Floral Studio in El Paso, Texas. I love everything florals. We actually are a destination florist, so we get to travel a lot around Texas, New Mexico, and beyond. And on my spare time, I actually play roller derby semi-professionally.
That's true. I forgot about that. I've seen videos of you.
Yes.
Super fun, but it can be dangerous, right?
It does have its risks. It is a physical sport. Fun fact, I actually have a metal rod in my leg from skating.
Wow.
It's permanent.
Oh my God.
But I love what I do, and I keep at it.
That's great. And when did you start your floral business?
Desert Dreams started in 2023, and it actually started in my home garage.
2023, so just 2 years ago.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Yeah, we've had a lot of accomplishments since then, and a lot of growth. Definitely. Within a year from starting the business, from my garage, we blossomed into my storefront, which is off of Dyer right now.
That's great. Wow.
Really excited. And within our first year in business, we also won Best of El Paso.
Last year, right?
Yes,
I saw that.
2024. Yes. So making headway, definitely. And I'm really excited for the continued growth that we're seeing. Yeah.
And before being a florist, what were you doing?
I was a florist.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was working at a local venue here in El Paso.
Oh. Because you definitely have experience. I mean, obviously I've seen your work and everything, so it doesn't look like it's someone that just started. So I can tell that.
Yeah, I actually have about 10 years experience in the floral industry in whole. Started off taking phone calls behind a computer desk, and it grew into designing myself. I started designing myself in 2020. And from then I found my niche in weddings. I love bridal bouquets and ceremony designs. And
yes.
We
had you at the expo this year, and I remember you brought several options for bouquets. That was a great idea, actually.
Yeah,
because I saw a lot of pictures from brides just like posting with the bouquet and taking selfies or pictures with other people. It was fun. It was fun to see.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
It was really a great experience, great exposure for Desert Dreams, for sure.
That's great. Okay, so now I want to ask you about the process. Like, when should we, as you know, I'm a wedding planner. I help my clients with the planning process, including finding a florist. And I tell them when it's time to hire every vendor. But from your perspective, when is the perfect time to hire the florist?
From what I've been seeing a lot in my experience, a lot of it has been about 8 months out into
8 months
their wedding date.
Okay.
This year, recently, we've been seeing a lot of 2026 and also 2027 bookings. So a lot of
Wow.
brides right now are jumping ahead of the game and securing
That's
their dates.
crazy. 2027, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I tell them, you know what? Contact me next year because I don't even have my agenda open for 2027 yet. But
Right.
are
Yeah.
you taking those
I
clients?
do. I
Okay.
do. If they have their date booked already and a venue booked, I will take them on for sure. And honestly, it benefits them more because I do provide payment plans, and the longer
good.
the date it is, the further the date, the further the date,
the better,
the
of
better.
course. And how do you arrange those payment plans? Like, is it monthly, like equal payments, or like 4 payments, or 25% first? And how do you work that out?
Right. So we do request a retainer on all of our contracts, and it's a 30% retainer to secure the date.
30% retainer regardless of the amount.
Right.
What is the 30%? Okay.
And that's to secure the date for sure. And from there, we do work out a monthly payment plan, depending on how far it is stretched out. I do try to avoid the holidays to give my clients a break.
Yes.
Because I mean, presents.
Yes, and another thing. Speaking of payments, of course, that's a good idea. But I've heard also that flowers are more expensive during holidays also, right? Let's say Wednesday.
Right, of course. And that's because as the season, the wholesalers themselves place a markup on their product. So of course, florists have to adjust their prices to meet the demand as well.
Yes, of course. And is it like double the price? More? No, not necessarily.
You can see up to, almost, yes. Because there's a lot of details that go involved in, especially the wedding flowers is different from your holiday Mother's Day flowers. There's a lot of labor and mechanics and behind the scene costs as well that go into making sure your flowers are tip top perfect.
Yes, and then we live in the border between Mexico and the US, we live in the desert. So we have to, bring in flowers from other parts of the continent or even the world. So like Victoria's saying, there's too many pieces that need to come together, like the flying of the flowers, right? Like all those rates make them more expensive, of course.
Yeah, that's true. Flowers are shipped to us, and that alone has a cost to it.
Oh yes, for sure. And then I get this question a lot. So flowers can be very expensive, right? And especially if brides have like this magnificent idea about flowers here, flowers there, by the entrance, and flowers everywhere. And sometimes they come and tell me, you know what, but I only have $2,000 for flowers. And then you're like, well, there's no way we can make this happen with that amount. So
that normally covers the wears and carries, is what I like to call them. Is basically your bridal bouquet, your groomsmen, souvenir, and your bridal parties flowers as well. So everything that you're wearing and carrying is gonna basically cover that budget. But if you're looking for a more extensive coverage, I always propose faux right off the back if I see they have a more minimum budget.
Yes.
But repurposing is very, very huge in my opinion. I try to repurpose everything that I can from the ceremony to the reception, to
That's
save
a great
on costs with that.
But I've heard some other florists that are like, nope, we're not going to move flowers from the ceremony area to the reception because of the weather, especially like during hot times, like hot months, like September, maybe October. They're like against it. Like, no, we're not repurposing flowers. But I'm glad to hear that you are that you are okay with that. Because at the end of the day, yes, the client has the last saying, right? But if they maybe feel discouraged by because of the what the florist is saying, so they're like, okay, well, I guess we can do it, and then they end up either losing on using flowers or spending more
Right.
what they wanted to
Right.
spend.
In the end.
So that sucks. But anyway, what has been the most expensive quote that you have given this year or recently? Because sometimes people think that flowers are like, I don't know, $1,000, something like that. But I like what I've seen locally has been 12,000. You?
This year, I
Mhm.
would say right around 8,000, a little over
8,000.
8,000.
Okay, it's not too bad. It's
Yeah,
not too bad.
yeah. I don't do
After I saw the
full
one, the 12,000.
weddings.
Yes.
Yeah, too much. Because I'm just so really a one-man show behind the scenes of it
Yes.
all. I have my partner who helps me.
I've
Thankfully,
seen him. Yes.
he's right there by my side, my handyman. And my assistant, of course, it's been a privilege teaching her along the way. But
Was she a florist before?
she has experience in schooling from
Okay.
it, but this is her first hands-on experience with
With
it.
flowers. Oh, that's great. Okay. So why do you say 8 months is the perfect time to hire the florist or book the florist?
Right, because normally by then the couple definitely has their venue set. And their major vendors that they also want. So florals, especially if you want florals, that has to be at the top of your list of securing a vendor.
Okay.
And getting your estimates for so you can choose.
Okay, great. Does it have to do with the season? Let's say if someone is getting married in April compared to October, does it vary or is it the same? 8 months will be the perfect time.
It does vary actually,
Okay.
because certain flowers are in season during certain months of the year. But that is not knowledge a lot of newlywed or newly engaged or
They don't
couples
know.
have.
Yes,
They don't know.
Exactly.
So I get requests for peonies left and right.
Yes.
And unfortunately,
Everybody
I have to break
loves
their heart
peonies.
and let them know that's not in season all year long. We can find something very similar to, or we can switch up your palette, things like that.
And that's one of the most expensive flowers, let me tell you. So when they hear the cost of, let's say, a bouquet made out of peonies, they get discouraged and like, you know what? Give me another option, please.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you can help them with that. So that's great.
Yeah. We always have different substitutions we can recommend.
Yes. Okay. And then let's say for the basics, you said 2,000 will be a good amount for the like personal flowers.
Right.
2,000.
Right.
So people can start thinking about that. So you're not spending less than 2,000, okay? And you can spend, I don't know, up to 20,000 if you want or more.
Oh, of course.
And we're talking about local prices here, El Paso, Texas, because of course, if you have a wedding in LA or New York or something like that, where costs are very high compared to here.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Okay, so we already talked about budget and when to book the florist. What other thing can the bride do to make the process of like working with the florist easier?
I do always recommend the bride to have a Pinterest board or some type of inspiration that they can show me, because they can tell me boho and I automatically think pampas.
Yes.
And she hates pampas and doesn't want pampas.
Yes.
So I definitely would love inspiration photos. Pinterest can never fail us.
Yes, I agree. Same with me. When I create the mood board for the wedding, I asked them to have a Pinterest board also, because that's very true. Like just recently, I met with a bride that we're not working together, unfortunately, because of budget reasons. But she said, "Oh, it's because I want." She gave me all of these adjectives for the wedding. So I want it to be elegant, and I want to be classy, and I want to be modern, and other words, right? And I was like, okay. So I'm picturing something, and then she tells me the colors. I'm like, okay. So now I moved my idea to a different point of view, and then she kept saying all these things, and I couldn't really understand. So I was like, you know what? Send me pictures, please, because I can't like guess it. I need to know.
Yeah.
And she was very concerned because the budget was not big. However, she was having like almost 200 guests. So I was like, send me pictures. After our meeting, she sends me pictures, and I see these pictures full of flowers in the venue. It's wow, it's amazing. And I'm like, this is like an $80,000 wedding or more, because the flowers were everywhere
Right.
on the ceiling, super huge, amazing, wonderful, beautiful centerpieces, but full of flowers. So I'm like, unfortunately, I can promise that we can make, well, we're not gonna make it happen with that budget, because maybe more than half of your budget will go to the flowers or to the venue, just the venue. So I told her, like, either we can make it happen, but not the same style that you want. We can have
Right.
a wedding for sure, but not with the same idea that you have.
Yeah.
So I told her, well, either you increase the budget or we go a different route. It can be nice. It can
Right.
be nice, pretty, and elegant, all those words that she was saying, but not necessarily exactly like on the pictures. So I did not hear back from her after that. And that's okay, because like I want it to be straightforward, because I don't want to
Right.
commit to something and then at the end she's going to be disappointed. So I decided to be honest instead. Have you had any situations like that?
I definitely have
Yes.
had situations like that before, where one, the vision was nothing like the inspiration photos, and I have instances too frequently where I do ask for their floral budget, and of course, them not knowing background on flowers and all the ins and outs. I give them options. I give them their realistic view and the true budget that will come with that. And then also something very similar for an alternative that we can match.
Yeah.
That is closer around, as close to their budget as possible.
That's good. For example, do you work with any venues, or are there places where you don't go there? You're like, okay, I've had situations and I prefer not to work with them or something.
I haven't encountered that as of yet.
Good. But well, there's venues that offer you the flowers, all the florals you need to get from them, and unfortunately you cannot bring an outsider florist, well, an outside florist. So in this specific situation, they quoted us for $12,000. That's the one that is 12,000. And we were having all white flowers, but then so that was out of my client's budget. So we said, okay, can you make it work with a little less? So the difference was with the type of white roses, because there's also types of white roses, right? Like the ones that are super, super white.
Yeah.
What's the name?
You
Casablanca?
have the Casablanca.
Casablanca, yes, that's
They're very big.
So, or the florist told us you can use white, but they're like more off-white, and the price was maybe like $3,000 less or something like that.
Like your tippet rose or.
So the bride said, okay, let's go with the off-white, not white compared to the other one. So we can save $3,000. Why not, right? And then she ended up removing some items. So the quote ended up being maybe like $5,000 less compared to the original quote. But at least there's options. And I'm glad that you offer that to your clients.
Yeah.
Because you're not the type of person that wants to sell the most expensive thing necessarily, right? So give them options, so that talks good about a vendor, right? They don't want to take advantage of you necessarily because they want to create a good experience and a good event. And
Definitely.
then, have you had any difficult situation with the client in these 2 years in business?
I have, and not too many. Thankfully,
Yes.
just one specifically. It was a
Okay.
out of town wedding in Lubbock, Texas. From kind of the get go, it was a wild experience with some issues, communication issues, payment issues.
Payment issues. Oh,
Yes, very uncomfortable, but
yeah.
we managed to get through. And she also postponed the week of her wedding, and Lubbock is about a 6-hour drive for me. So
Right. Yeah.
I had everything planned, her flowers already here, and she postponed a year later.
So what do you mean? So you had the flowers and everything the week before the wedding? Because people have to, so the florists have to order the flowers. We just said that, right? Because they don't come
Magically to our
locally.
doorstep.
Yes. So how many days or weeks do you get the flowers before the wedding?
So I ordered them about a month out. I make sure that my distributor has my order.
Okay.
And about a week to 2 weeks, I get my flowers sent to me to the airport, and I pick them up, and I keep them in my cooler.
Yeah.
I open some up depending on how bloomed I need them to be come the ceremony time. But the week of the wedding, I am definitely with flowers out working on things, especially if it's an out of town wedding and I have ceremony and reception, a lot of florals for that. So her flowers were here.
I'm glad you're explaining that, because sometimes people think like you literally just get the flowers from a local place, like I don't know, Costco, Sam's, or something like that, and you just get them like 2 days before, and then the day before you create all the arrangements, and then they're ready to go. No, there's a whole process behind that. And sometimes people don't understand that because they don't know. Yeah, I mean, because they're new.
It's our job to know.
Exactly.
That's why you hire the professionals to take care of that stress for you, so you don't have to worry about it. And
so then you had the flowers before, a week before, and then she canceled the wedding. Well, postponed it, and then
she postponed it to a whole year later. And
now I want to know why. Was this during? No, not the pandemic. Right?
No,
it was something else. Okay.
Something else. I'm assuming something personal. I didn't dig too much into it. Just respecting her space, and they hired me again for their florist the second time around, and kind of again the same flow of miscommunication and payment issues again. Come the day of her wedding, we're setting up in Lubbock. She's asking for changes there on the spot.
Like what?
She's wanting a hairpiece.
Okay.
While I'm creating her ceremony arch. And that's normally done on the spot there. And I was in action, and she asked if I could go to her dressing room to make her headpiece.
Did she have a makeup artist and hair artist, someone? Or was she doing her own hair?
I believe she was doing her family was doing her own hair. She had family members stepping in doing different parts.
It makes sense because if you had someone professional, I mean, you agreed to the style and what you're gonna wear before the wedding day, and then because this vendor will ask you like what style do you want, what are you wearing, so I can arrange for everything else. And I'm assuming she didn't have a wedding planner.
No.
Okay, and then
I told her the best I can do was give her some florals, some loose florals that she can stick in her hair. I had no mechanics with me to create such a product.
Yeah.
And then another request she asked was some of the groomsmen's colors, floral colors, to be different. When the boutonnieres were already made, they were they were made. And
Oh my God.
she wanted to switch the colors. I did cave and I did create one different one for her, but that was the best I could do.
Oh my God. That sounds very stressful. And how did it end? Like the whole situation ended?
So cherry on top, actually, there in Lubbock, we were across the street from the venue where the bride and groom were having their reception.
Mhm.
We were getting some coffee, and we actually got to see their send off. It was really nice.
Mhm.
Um, I got to see the photographer take their shots, the sparklers send off. It
Mhm.
warmed my heart, and they got their shot. The videographers got their shot of their send off, and they actually circled the parking lot and kind of like went back in. And that was the first time I've ever seen a wedding send off, because I normally collect my rentals if there's any rentals like the way later or the next day. So when I saw that, I felt like my little girl heart was broken, because
Aww.
I saw like the fairy tale dream wasn't real. It was just like kind of for pictures. And I understand maybe it was a set time. They had, agreed for the photographer and they needed to get their shots before they left. But it was my first time seeing that too. So from the beginning to the end with this certain client, I was just really glad to be done and over with.
Oh my God, I feel you. I've had a couple of these during this almost 7 years that I've been in business, so I get it. But hopefully you don't have too many anymore. Thank God I've had very few, so we're all good. Okay, and now just to wrap it up, what will be another good advice that you can tell the brides and the grooms when hiring a florist?
Definitely be true to your budget and a clear communication, not only with your florist, but with all your vendors. We all want to make sure that your big day runs as smooth as possible. So especially if you don't have a planner, definitely clear communication on how you need things or want things, and know that sometimes your last minute wants can't be fulfilled if they're not communicated in time. But
Exactly.
communication with all your vendors.
Very important, communication and honesty. Yeah, that's very good too. That's a good advice. Okay, Victoria, thank you so much for being with us today. I really enjoyed talking to you and getting to know you a little more. And hopefully, guys, you got some good tips and ideas on how to start planning your wedding and how to work with the florist. See you guys at the next one. Bye-bye.